Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim, and thank you all so much for the support you all shower me here with. I am grateful, and you all are super sweet. So we'll be talking something very important, and it's about a video a pump-colored man made saying that Africans are always very quick to shout that the Europeans are the ones stealing their resources. And he was like, your resources are all there back in your countries, but it is your leaders that are selling all these resources to the Westerners or the Europeans, and also they are the ones not using the resources very well. So he was like, your elites are the ones robbing you off your money or the resources and all that. And so he was like, the real issues are the governments, I mean, the leaders. And why is it that African leaders are not using the resources very well to develop their own countries and all that? And he asked, why is it that why is it that Mr. Beats has to be the one to build wells and all that for some people in Africa and the rest of it? So another person was trying to make a point like, the youth are the problem. And I was like, how are the youth the problem when the leaders are not even doing what they are supposed to do? And then I am going to say that Europeans never left Africa. That is number one. They are still in Africa, and they are still monitoring almost everything going on in Africa. Let's get into this.
If you've been on TikTok for a while, you must have heard about a ton of Africans telling you that Europeans stole Africa's resources. Now, there's a lot to say about that. First and foremost, most of these resources are still in Africa, and they're not being stolen by Europeans. They're actually being sold to Europeans by the African state leadership. Your own elites are robbing you. It's not us doing it. Not anymore. The real issue, of course, is why aren't Africans using their own resources to do things? Why does Mr. Beast have to go to Kenya to build water wells? Why didn't the Kenyan government do it themselves? I suppose the Kenyan government could have done it themselves. They just chose not to do it. Nigeria is now a country of almost 220 million people, the largest country in Africa. But they only produce about 10% of the electricity that a small country like Hungary. Hungary only has 10 million people, but they produce 10 times as much electricity as Nigeria does. I mean, I know you want to have your Wakanda, right? But do you expect white people to give it to you? No, you're supposed to build it yourself. Having said all this, it is of course obvious that we Europeans in the north need to prepare for a possible, potential African rise in terms of technology and therefore also in terms of military capacity. And that means we in Europe need to already start looking ahead and thinking ahead about how we are going to win the war against Africa, because there will be a future war between Europe and Africa.
This is exactly what we've been talking about. In Africa, not only we don't have good leaders, but the youth is not making any improvement. The youth is the problem in Africa too, not only the leaders. I'm not going to put the blame on the leaders. The world is not playing. The other continents are not playing. Asia, the Western world, the Americans, all of them are not playing. They are all trying to stand on their feet in terms of security, in terms of technology, everything. But when it comes to Africa, we're playing so much. We don't do nothing. We got bad leaders. We got leaders that are criminals. We got leaders that are destroying our resources, making it look like the white people are coming in to take it by force. In this 21st century, the white people don't do that. Our people rather selling it to the white people. We all heard what the white man said. So African leaders are our problem. And the youth in Africa is also the problem. The youth exactly is the problem, because we don't want something good for the African continent. Whenever someone is trying to do something good in Africa, we are trying our ways and means to pull that person back. We want to pull them back. That thing is not helping us at all in Africa. We got to stand up. The youth has to get up and think about future. We have to think about technology. We have to think about security. We have to make sure Africa stands on its feet everywhere. We don't have to be traveling all over the world and being a slave to other people. We have to be able to do things on our own in Africa. This is what we're trying to teach our people. Let's rise. Let's wake up. The world is coming to I don't know how to say. There will be a time in this world. That's what he said. There will be a war between the Western world and the Africans. And I'm telling you, if we are in this position right now, there is no way we can win the Western world in terms of war. No, we can't win them because we don't have nothing. We don't have nothing. We don't do nothing in Africa. We got leaders that are making the life of Africans so miserable. We just destroy everything in Africa rather than trying to do something better for Africa. The business and the contract we've been giving to the white people, we can do it in Africa. The government can do it, but they don't want to do it because they want to steal money with the Europeans. So they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. But I don't blame the leaders. Sometimes I blame the youth. The youth, let's wake up in Africa. The youth, let's wake up in Africa and stand for Africa. Let's not let these useless leaders in Africa mislead us and sell Africa. They are literally selling Africa, but we don't know. There will be a time you're gonna be like, hey, they sold their country to us. Yeah, because that's what our leaders are doing. And the youth is not taking action. We just sit down and be watching. We're gonna elect a president that's old, over 80 years, 90 years to be a president. How can you control Africa? Let's wake up, Africa. There's nothing we can do than to talk about it, than to encourage our people, the youth of Africa, to rise up and try to be able to learn. Let's learn things. Let's try to learn and put into practice and cherish our own in Africa. Let's try to do our own thing. Because one day, we're not going to have it easy. It's not going to be easy one day.
Why does Mr. Beast have to go to Kenya to build water wells? Why didn't the...
Oh, I was about to eat this last pumpkin pie slice here, but you want to get into it? Let's get into it. So, the United States of America has destabilized so many countries out there to the point where Africa itself cannot defend itself. It can defend itself, but to a limited point. For example, I am Mexican. I immigrated because of my parents here to the United States of America. Now, learning about the history of America, they taught us certain things here and there. They really didn't educate us about the whole world and its true history. With that being said, we're going to use Mexico as an example because I'm familiar with Mexico and I see the exact same correlations, similarities, parallels going on in Africa. See, Mexico was run by a lot of corrupt presidents where they allow their governing politicians to be corrupt. In present time, as of last year, we now have this president called Manuel Lopez Obrador, which is called AMO. So that has been the most immaculate, direct, honest president that Mexico has ever had. He never declared war on the cartels. He asked his citizens, his supporters, his people that put him in power, what should we do about the cartels? And the citizens of Mexico said, end them, end all corruption, take action. And that's exactly what he did. To this day, Manuel Lopez Obrador has not been unalived because he is going by what the citizens of Mexico are telling him what to do because they pay his salary. And he has exposed and taken out so many corrupt government officials to the point where he is saying and pointed out, hey, Mexico can actually sustain itself with its own electrical plants. We don't need to buy electricity from America. We don't need to buy these GMO products from America because we see that these cause health risks. But yet America said, no. We put the CIA in there and got those corrupt presidents in your government and had them sign these contracts. So now you have to abide by them by a certain date. So you cannot get rid of us. You can't stop buying electricity from us, nor can you stop buying our genetically modified products. So you're forced to buy them in order for us to continue to rip you off. That was the summary of what was going on. And the exact same thing that what I just told you as an example, which is true, can be said about Africa. Literally. Not lying to you. Let's not even bring Britain into this, or France, or any other, European country that is involved in Africa into this, because everyone wants the resources of Africa because Africa is so rich in resources, but certain governments decided to corrupt it, attack it, and just put certain people into power that benefit only them and not the country. And Mr. Beast, to end this video, Mr. Beast going down there and building these wells and pointing out the fact that he didn't spend all this money that is required to do so. He spent a fraction of the money of what is said and that is needed to build these wells. Like, that really makes you think, doesn't it? That's the reason why certain people are trying to advocate to cancel Mr. Beast, because he exposed some secrets there unintentionally. So now I'm going to finish this pumpkin pie in the honor and hopefully a ceasefire, and that Israel itself gets slaughtered. To Palestine, for Gaza and all my Palestinian brothers and sisters. Salam.
Things. Why does Mr.
So this is all I got from this. When I saw this video, I was like, young man, it looks like you really do not know a whole lot going on in the world and all that. And first of all, I'm going to say that Nigeria do not produce 14 kg or whatever electricity he said. Nigeria produces 34.5. So let's start this by saying that I don't even know where to start from. Is it from the colored man or from the black man that said the youth are the problem? The youth are not the problem. The problem, Africans as a whole, the problem they are facing are their leaders. Number one is that their leaders are being bought over by the Westerners. And the Westerners actually did not leave. They have not even left Africa. Because some people are like, but you all already got your independence and all that. Yeah, we got the independence, but they still control most of the certain things going on in some countries, right? And the leaders, they actually know what they are doing, and they go for the old people that do not also mean well for the countries also. And then they use them. That's why when you, like, with everything going on, some leaders are for the Westerners. That means that they cannot speak anything or any ill against the Westerners. With everything going on in Congo and some other countries, it's quite unfortunate that most African countries aren't even out, their president aren't even out, talking about how to fix what is going on in Congo, Sudan, and all that. Some of them hasn't even talked about African countries that are going through hell, let alone talk of Palestine, because they are for the Westerner. I keep saying it, not until we wake up. I don't know how it's going to happen, but one way or the other, we are actually going to find a way to remove all these people that do not mean well for their citizens, right? And why do they? Number one is that all these Europeans, they knew the countries that have the best, like that are the best, that have all the resources, and they go there and they don't leave. That's why Congo is in crisis for how many years? They are not letting Congo go. They are not letting Nigeria grow. with all the human resources they have, and some other countries too. So first of all, we are going to hold our leaders accountable for what they are doing before we start holding. I know that every African youth you see out there is looking for a way to grow, even with everything, with even how the government is is not favorable to anybody. Still, they look for a way, they find a way to grow. Now let's talk about this. They said the youth it is not the youth. I am not saying the youth are perfect, but I am going to even start from the leaders. Number one is that I see so many nurses, so many doctors that migrated, that left probably some African countries, probably to other countries. You see them, they are professionals in what they do, right? And they earn good money. Number one is that the opportunity was not given to them in their own country. That's why I keep saying they have to fix the country first. Because if you do not fix the country, how do you want the citizens? Number one is that the Europeans are out there spoiling the country, making the very best, like the doctors, the nurses, engineers. They make them leave that country to their own country to work. I don't know if this is making sense. So they try as much as they can to destroy Africa and make the citizens run away. And when they are running away, they take the very best. If only we understand what is going on. This is more like how slavery started. Because during slavery, they took the very best. They came down and they took the very best. When I say the very best, they took them out there. So now they are also taking the very best, the nurses, the doctors, the engineers, civil engineers, the IT, and all that. Really, I don't know how to say it, but the Europeans never left Africa. They are still in Africa, using some of the African leaders to disguise. And I really hope that someday we Africans will really be free. Being free by having the very best leaders. Because as it stands, the leaders are for the Westerners, not until we have leaders that are against the Westerners. Not really like leaders that will not let them have control over what is going on in their own country. This is all I got to say. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.